Okay, good morning. Special thank you to Zeitlin, Reb Moti Zeitlin, and to Zvi, and my Rebbe Reb Chaim Kramer, Nachman Fried, all the Masadrim, and BRI. We're in Torah Zion in Tneinã, the second chelik of Likutim Run, and we're learning that a true leader is only someone who has a reach of Rahmanus, of compassion, that actually extends to the highest tzaddik, to show that tzaddik, don't sit on your laurels, don't think that you have reached where you're supposed to reach. There's still more to go as long as you're alive. That's the biggest vote of confidence that Hashem believes you can continue growing. So that this Rachaman has to be able to show even the higher tzaddik that there's still more to go. And the lowest possible Jew, who's really in the pits, this same tzaddik has to reach him and show that there's Hashem in his life and never to be miyash, don't give up. There's no reason to give up. There's a pure illusion of human creation. It's an innocent misunderstanding of reality. There cannot be any yush. So that's the goal of the tzaddik, which is synonymous to Moshe Rabbeinu. Then we learned that the only reason a person would ever do averas and get Yisurin because of averas, is because of a lack of das. And that das is a recognition that Hashem actually exists in my life right now. And that's what Moshe Rabbeinu infused in all of us by the pasuk, which we've quoted several times in this Torah. And that's in Perek Daled, pasuk Lamed Hey, in Dvarim, Parshas Vayischanan. Ata hareta ladas, you've been shown to know through Mamad HaSinai and the experience of Yetziat Mitzrayim, you know, Ki Hashem Hu Elokim, that Hashem is the one power of all powers. He powered the water, turned to blood. Earth turned to lice. Wind blew the Arabah from east to west and back again. Every single element in creation, fire, water, life, death, choshech, was completely controlled by one power. You were shown that, and the conclusion is Ein Od Milvadoi. Nothing else exists. So on a very simple level, that is the mitzvah of emunah at Har Sinai. Anochi Hashem Elokecha hashotziticha me'eretz Mitzrayim. And you know that I am your Shem Elokecha because you are the one I took out of Egypt, and you witnessed. So that's the background behind that das. But the continuation of the same pasuk, Mi Beis Avadim, indicates that I don't care where you are in the future, whatever Mitzrayim you are stuck in, whichever Pera is pulling you down, there's no Mitzrayim I can't take you personally out of. And that's through this das, that Hashem, you're here too, and then there must be a way out. It cannot possibly be that I'm stuck. I'm never stuck. So this is the das that the tzaddik needs to bring into a person. So Rav Nachman points out that even if one doesn't have that das directly from such a towering tzaddik, one can actually imbue that das through conversation with another Jew. And that's one of the ways we actually leave ourselves behind. Our body gets buried in the ground, but our das continues afterwards through the Talmidim, the students, or the actual children that we bring into this world, that we actually raised those children with this same das. And that's all through role modeling, v'shinantam levanecha, which literally means chew to your children, teeth to your children, the word shame, meaning the way we actually smile and enjoy life, no matter how hard it sometimes is, in front of our children. That is the role modeling. Shinun means repetition, and the repetition is these words, which is referring to Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, ve'ahavta, and the three dimensions of ahavta, b'chol levav, b'chol nafshe, b'chol me'odecha. These are the words that should be al levavecha, on your thoughts all the time. And now the way to imbue them into the world is v'shinantam levanecha. Repeat these to your children. And the most powerful way to do that is role modeling. So when we go through a difficulty, is Hashem in my life in that moment, in front of my family? That is what our families are seeing in the parent, and that's how we move forward. And no matter what mistakes we made, it's not too late to have a conversation about my mistakes and what I'm learning from them, and move forward. There's no yush. It's never too late to have a happy childhood. It's never too late to have a happy family. It's never too late to have a happy experience from something that didn't seem right, good. It's never too late. So then Rav Nachman went into how it is that this tzaddik, who's also called the Rebbe Hador, and also the Chacham Hador, the wisest of the generation, he actually gets makifim, he gets new insights and broader understanding of things when he teaches. But the person who's on the receiving end, he's also receiving that das. And what we are in now, in Ches, we're learning that sometimes that Chacham Hador has to be careful how much he reveals and how much he doesn't reveal. So on that note, we got up to the Gemara in Menachos, which we learnt a little bit outside but not inside, so we're going to touch on it now, and then I'll go into a few of the practicals of Makifim, certain insights that Rav Nachman he was telling us. You've got to be very, very careful to be ready for something, but there's certain things that if you're not ready for, just keep quiet, don't go there until you're ready. So we'll look at some of the examples of that. Have you got the paragraph? It's like the last third of
ones. It's Yud Gimel Amud Beis, the bottom paragraph, and okay, the big ones. It's
the line above said, "V'lo yavoi lahasik makifim she'ein tzarich lahasik." Person shouldn't come to reach makifim, insights, broader perspective, she'ein tzarich lahasik, which.
On these lamed.
Oh, okay. So starting this paragraph, this corresponds, this is connected to what our sages tell us. Zichronim levracha, may their memory be a blessing. In the Gemara Menachos, Daf Chavtes Amud Beis 29b. Kish'ala Moshe leMaron, when Moshe Rabbeinu went above, that's in reference to his 40 days and 40 nights on Har Sinai. It was a spiritual experience, no eating, no drinking, no sleeping. So when he went up, he's the Talmud Klape Hashem. Hashem is the Rebbe, so to speak. Matzai LaKadosh Baruch Hu, he found Hashem, Shahaya Koishe Ketarim Le'oisius, that he was tying, literally the language is tying Ketarim, crowns on the Oisius, which we mentioned last week. There are several Oisius which get 3 crowns. Shatnez Gaz, it's called, Guts, Shin, Tet, Nun, and Zayin, Sadi, Shatnez Guts, and also Gimel Sadi, and also Badak Chaya. I think I said Hey last week, it's Chaya. Badak Chaya, they get 1 tug, one crown each. So Amalei, so Moshe Rabbeinu had no clue what are these tugim, what are these little crowns sticking out of the letters that Hashem is writing there. Ribono shel olam, Master of the universe. Mi me'akev al yadcha, who is forcing you to add these crowns? The Torah you gave me already at Har Sinai, and you've been teaching me the Torah Shabbat Peh on. What is these extras over here? It's fine without them. So answers HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Amalai, he says to Moshe Rabbeinu, Atit echad la'amoid. There's going to be one person in the future that will stand up. It's a loshon of, we've said it many times, independence. There's going to be a different type of category of human being. The Akiva ben Yosef Shemai. His name is Akiva, the son of Yosef. Sheyiya doresh al kol koitz v'koitz, on every single thorn. It's really, they're called crowns, also called thorns, because they stick out. It looks a little bit like a thorn that's protruding. Tilei tilim shel halachos, piles of halachos, thousands upon thousands of legal decisions will actually be extrapolated by this towering Talmud Chacham, Akiva ben Yosef. So what's Moshe Rabbeinu's response? His anav mikol adam, and I can't remember where it is in Likuti Halachas, how to become anav mikol adam. Mikol adam, he learned something that he didn't have in his set of virtues, and that's how he became an anav. There's, I think Reb Sadiq says that that if a person is older, so he has to have respect for the younger people who've got less averas than he has. And if he meets someone who is older than him, then he's got more wisdom than him. So he has a reason to be an honor humble for that fact. If a person, sorry?
From both sides.
From both sides. So there's always a tzad, no matter who one comes across. So Mikol Adam, so Ana Mikol Adam Asher al Panei Adama, from the face of the earth, no one ever was as humble as Moshe Rabbeinu. So what's the most obvious thing Moshe Rabbeinu is going to say? If there's going to be someone in the future who has this type of a mind that can extrapolate thousands upon thousands of legal applications, which I can't see because you've taught me Kol HaTorah Kula based on what's nigla, what's completely revealed in front of me. So Amalai, Rebbeinu Shleilam, Ro'oi Tinaten Torah al Yadai. You should be giving the Torah through him, not me. Amalai Shtaik. So Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu what appears a very strange answer, silence. Kach ala b'machshava. This is what went up in my mind. Actually, the rest of the wording there's lefanai. This was the original thought I had, and so Rav Nachman now, moving away from having quoted the story. Actually, there is much more there. It's a fascinating story. I would love to go into it, but if you have time, look it up. It's so fascinating, especially with the Ben Yehoyada. He really opens it up, and he reveals esoteric meanings behind each part of the story. But for our sake, Ulachora Kasha, Rav Nachman now interjects. There seems to be a problem here. It's really difficult. Ma amaloi Hashem yitbarach shtoik. Why did Hashem say to him, be quiet? Halo kvar amah hakushya. Moshe Rabbeinu already asked the question. Umazu shtika. So what is the purpose of their silence? He already asked what he asked. So why are you telling me to be quiet now? However, in the context of what we've been saying earlier, however, what really took place is the following. As soon as Moshe Rabbeinu asked the question, why don't you give the Torah through Akiva? Nafal besichloi teirutz ala kushya. Immediately, the answer to his own question fell into his mind, because he had asked a question which was relevant, and he made room for an answer, and it was the answer that he now received in his mind, that he was now about to actually give, that Hashem is saying, shtoik, be quiet. Because there's no point in telling him to be silent about what he already said. He already said it. That the problem though was, and this we talked about in the previous part of this paragraph, if he would say the answer, a new makif, a new insight. Makif literally means an encirclement, which is totally enclosed, and it's a whole new perspective. It's a perspective which we talked about previously, but a couple of new faces here. Just to touch on that super brief. I think I told you the joke of Plastic Surgery Anonymous. So the person in charge of the meeting said to all the people there, "Oh, I see a lot of new faces here tonight." so for the sake of some of the newcomers here, so what is it? A makif? Makif means a totally new perspective. It's so new that it dulls the previous perspective. So for example, and there's a lot of examples, but let's say for example, one piece of information completely changes your entire impression about someone. And that one piece of information, it could have been delivered through a story. It doesn't matter where it came from, but that one piece of information that enables you to understand what an extremely difficult upbringing that person had, and how, so to speak, disadvantaged he was in entering this marriage or this relationship or this business, and yet was so successful, or failed and started again after all the times he's been pushed down. That piece of information could change your judgment of the person to one of total admiration. There are many examples of that throughout history.
Or Chas V'Shalom will say it's Lashon Hara could be the other way around also.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So a hekef, a makif, is a new perspective. There's lots and lots of examples. We did cover a few. So could ayin those shiurim. So when a person gets a new hekef, a new makif enters his mind, the question he previously asked gets strengthened, and it gets broadened than it was originally, and now it becomes harder to answer. Al kein amaloi Hashem yitbarach shtoik. So that's why Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, be silent about the answer, al haterutz. Hainu shishtoik v'lo yigale et haterutz. Don't reveal it. Kedei shelo yavo al kusha yoter chazaka mibet tchila. So you won't come to an even harder new insight, question. V'zehu kach ala b'machshava. That's the meaning where Hashem said, this is what I intended from the beginning, that ad kan, meaning I'm setting a gvul. That's what a makif is. It's a fenced-in area that I shouldn't enter or necessarily leave. Enter means I'm not ready to enter, or leave means I haven't finished learning everything I have to in this hekef. I'm not sure if I'm making myself clear, but one of the best examples that I've given before is learning Aleph Beis. You're learning Aleph Beis. Each Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Ois is a new makif. And you are exponentially growing your mind's ability to access many more letters that you're going to come across. But when you finish all the Oisius, then you can make sense out of everything you're looking at, especially when you learn how to read all the Nekudais. Now, if you learn Trop, oh my gosh, you're entering a whole new world. If you're going to enter the world of Shirashim and identify what is a 2 and 3 letter Shoresh, now you're going to actually be able to make sense out of what you're learning. Add on, and it's only 46 prefixes and suffixes, that closes a huge hekef, because now you've got access to the entire Tanakh and a lot of Mishnayos. And with that, your mind has the ability to ask questions, because you will notice deliberate misspellings in the Torah, toldos with a vav, without a vav, deliberate lashon zachar, and it's really meant to be nekeva. Avos should be avim. Makas b'choros should be makas b'chorim. There's all over the place, and that's deliberate to cause you to think. And then when you think, you're going to have a kasha, and then you're able to compare similarities throughout Tanakh and contrast differences, and by that you will now be digging into the Torah Sheba'al Peh, which was deliberately hidden in order that we would actually extrapolate it from the Torah Shebachtav. So everything's a makif. Everything you ever learn is a new makif. Now we're at the top of the next column. As soon as a person's seichel apanimi has been revealed, that's what you already have a mastery of. You then get a new seichel. Just to follow the same pattern, once you know Tariq mitzvahs, you're prepared to learn Mishnayos, because Mishnayos is not a limud b'fnei atzmai. It is an impossible code to break, because it's deliberately written in cryptic language. You can only understand it if you know Tariq mitzvahs, because it's a perush to Tariq mitzvahs. That's what the Rav Bartanur says on Pirkei Avos. Bartanur, not as in the drink, but actually the commentator. So it's interesting. The Bartanur of wine is actually mavushal, right? So Bartanur himself paskins that if it's mavushal, it hasn't got a din of wine. You wouldn't make a bracha, a kefin on it. But I'm not going there.
It's like they say Rabbeinu Tam wouldn't wear his own tefillin, because it doesn't really conform with all of his
all the shitters.
Right.
That's very funny. That's even more
one
funny.
of them.
So let's just a minute. So a person, as soon as they are megale what they do understand, that makes room for a new understanding. Ki nichnas makif acher lifnim. Now there's room for him to receive the next makif. If I haven't mastered all the differences between the letters of the Aleph Beis, I'm still mixing up Nun and Gimel, or Kaf and Pei, or Pei and Fei. So I'm not ready to, don't give me another Ois, I haven't mastered the previous ones. On the contrary, what's actually might happen is I become more confused. So when I have mastered something, that Seichel HaPnimi, I'm ready for the next Makif. So a person needs to be quiet, so that he shouldn't come to a new perspective. He's not ready to, and is not able or not needed for him to be masik yet. That's the meaning of Hashem saying silence. Silence doesn't mean forever, it just means right now. That's what the thought that came up before me. So Moshe, this is in parentheses now. Moshe haya lemala min hamachshava. Actually, Moshe Rabbeinu was higher than machshava. Lekach haya yudea et hateirutz. He knew the answer. Ki hisik bechinas sitre, and some say it's kitre oisius, the secrets of the letters, or kitre oisius, the actual crowns of the oisius. So that's something to
Moshe Rabbeinu knew about the Kitri Ha'osis before he even asked the question of Hashem?
So this is going to get us into a little bit of deep waters. But on that note, which is kind of related to what you're bringing up, is Ravatia. He has a footnote number 90 on this Torah. Those items that Moshe Rabbeinu lo yachol adayin hasig was not able yet to reach. It was beyond him. He didn't understand the tagim, these crowns, or their significance. How can you extrapolate so much from them? This is referring to a new breadth of context that he's not ready for. Etzleinu by us. He wants to bring out, what does it mean that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't have this hasaga yet? And how does the seichel panimi, which is what you have mastered already, and when you articulate that, you're, so to speak, you're making room in your mind for a new understanding. So he brings here Muva b'pirkei heichalos perak Kav Zayin. The afal pi sheloi shata shchina b'bayis sheni, even though it's true there was no shchina in the bayis sheni. Mikol makom, nevertheless, ikar haTorah v'ziva v'hadara lo haya ela b'bayis sheni. The main Torah, its shine, its wonder, its beauty, was actually dafka in the bayis sheni, even though it was past the time of nevuah. He says something really quite extraordinary. Sheloi ratzu livnois. Our Hachamim did not want to rebuild the Bayis Sheni until Hashem promised legalois lahem razei haTorah, until they were promised that Hashem would reveal to them the hidden secrets of the Torah, which was not available to the Hamoinam prior, even in the Bayis Rishon. V'hainu, that means to say, ki hadchalas Torah shebal peh. The beginning of the unfolding of the Torah Shebal Peh, which was not written down till time of the Bayis Sheni, Haya Bayis Sheni me Anshe Knesses Agdola Shem Yastei Habayis. They were the ones who, Ezra and Anshe Knesses Agdola, they were the ones who rebuilt the temple. Hem Yastu Gam Ken HaTorah Shebal Peh. They were the ones who really created the foundation for the writing of the Torah Shebal Peh, which came later from Rabbeinu HaKadosh. K'moshe Amru B'Yushalmi. And it's explained in Yerushalmi and Shkalim, and he quotes here Perak Hey Halacha Aleph. The Af Shehanavua, this is astonishing. The Af Shehanavua who Gilui Mefurash Maras Hashem Yosem Hasakas Hachamim. Even though a Navi, he gets communication in the form of visions. He actually sees in his mind's eye. He sees visions that Hashem is giving him through Nevuah, and that is greater than Chochmah of the Hachamim. Mikol makom. Nevertheless, Chazal tell us, come on, Bava Basra, Daf Yud Beis Amud Aleph, that's what he quotes here. Tahacham adif minavi. A wise person is higher, greater than a Navi. So that needs to be understood. In what respect? Because a Navi gets Nubuah from Hashem. Where's the Hacham getting a higher level of communication from? The Ayin Sham Ramban. So now he quotes, look over there in the Ramban. The Yachol Hasik Ma'amakim Yoser. A Hacham that we're describing here in this Torah is able to actually reach levels of clarity that's higher than Nevuah. And he gives Ukiyadua Meha Arizal. We know this from the Arizal. Shehikid Dvarim Be'olamos Elyonim. The Arizal revealed, he told things that's going on in the higher worlds. Shekafi Das Atzmai Hulamala Mahasakas Kol Hanavim. What he was revealing was higher than whatever all the Nevi'im, including Moshe Rabbeinu is going to say in a few moments, were masik, that were able to actually reach. Ve'afilu Hasakas Moshe Rabbeinu, alav Hashalom, K'noida, Lohegin b'kisvei Arizal. And this is known to anyone who really ponders, really deeply learns the Kisvei Ari, that he was revealing information that was not known to Moshe Rabbeinu or even the Nevi'im. So the fact that the Arizal, as a human being, reached such a level, so it's evident that there really is such a thing as a Hacham that's higher even than the Navi. So you can have someone the stature of the Baal Shem HaKadosh, Rav Nachman, great tzaddikim who actually, in a certain sense, are higher than what they're getting is higher than Nevuah. This is a very dangerous territory to walk in. Aval hu hisig derech hasaga b'seichel shezeu hasagas ruach hakodesh k'mo shekasav Ramban Shan. So I'm going to do my best to explain this. That there's a Navi. Moshe Rabbeinu got Nevuah through an aspaklaria, so to speak, a window that is me'ira. You can see right through it. It's completely transparent. Translate, transparent, not transparent. So there's you see it in perfect, no reflections. You see it in perfect. What's the word? Clarity, and there's a word I'm looking for. Perspective. It's not over large. It's not smaller. It's exactly as Hashem wants you to see it. That was Moshe Rabbeinu. All the other Nevi'im saw through, so to speak, a window that was glazed. Some say actually it was a mirror, which means that it's not in perspective, because when you look in a mirror, the distance of items is double the distance between you and the mirror. So actually it's out of perspective. Your right arm, and you lift it up, it's actually your left arm in the mirror. It's not 100% clear. So the Nevi'im didn't get that. Whatever they saw, it was a vision. It's visual. That's easy for us with TV, which stands for time wasted, and AI, which I think I shared you why I don't think there's anything to be worried about. Because if AI gets too powerful, we just have to organize it into committees, and that will do it in. It will have no future. But with all the technology that we are accessing today, it's easy for us to visualize, even if we don't have a very specific creative imagination. But what's being said here is something really astonishing. The seichel, the mind, can grasp items beyond the vision. Because you can only understand what your eyes already enabled you to see in this world. So even a Navi, when he would see a vision, you can see this in Rabbi Kaplan's book, Inner Space. He talks about this a bit. That a Navi who would see a vision, Hashem, if it's something he never saw before, Hashem would have to explain what it is. Because a baby, for example, as soon as they are opening their eyes and their ears are receptive to sound, that child is making thousands and thousands and thousands of associations between images that he sees and sounds that are giving him information to make sense out of the images. So that eventually he learns this person's face is called Tati or Daddy or Abba. This person's face is called Mummy. This is a table. This is a floor. This is a chair. And he starts to learn vocabulary based on association of sound and image. But without being told what it is, he doesn't know what he's looking at. That's why it's interesting in Bava Kama, the payment for for damaging an ear is higher than damaging an eye, because the ear is much more valuable, even though we might not think that since we're so strong in our visual experience, but it's only because of my ear that I actually know what I'm looking at. So the ozen is made up of two words. Aleph is the first letter. According to Vilna Gaon, it's Elokim, because that's the first time the letter Aleph appears in the Torah at the beginning of a word. That defines Aleph. Zan means feed. Ozen, Hashem is feeding your brain through your ear by what you hear. It's actually, even the word Aleph is a fascinating letter. It's slightly off, sorry. Aleph is made up of three letters. Aleph, Lamed, Vei. So you take the Aleph is Elokim. He's Alufa Shel Olam. He's the Anochi. All these are Alephs, Ador and Nai. Hashem is Aleph. Lamed means teach. Pei is the mouth. Hashem is the one that teaches your mouth to speak. Your ability to speak is what Hashem created in man when he created man. Vayitza Hashem Elokim Adam Afa min Hadama v'yipach ba'apav nishmat chayim. After he made him from the ground, from the dirt, he then blew it through his nostrils a soul that lives forever. Nishmat chayim means a soul forever. So the famous Targum, which we interestingly translate as Ruach Memalala, as a speaking being. Ruach means wind. Memala comes from the word maleh. It does mean malal in Lashon Aramaic. It means speak. But the reason why you are filling maleh, you're filling the wind in front of you, which is scientifically accurate. You are filling the wind in front of you with the sound waves that are coming out of your mouth. So Ruach Memala, that's when you became a living speaker. Who taught you the ability to speak? Aleph, Lamed, Pei. Hashem is the one who teaches you the ability to speak. How does he do that? Because he gave you eyes that you see images, and then you, through your ears, Hashem teaches you through all the people that are speaking to you. And then when you learn Aleph Base and ABC, you can learn even more through books. Then you have access to knowledge, and that knowledge enables you to understand what you're seeing. But what's being said here is that the seichel is higher than eyes. That's what Rav Nachman says in Sichas Aran, in 46, paragraph 46. He says the higher you go, the further you reach. So you can kick a ball so far, but if you're really good at baseball, you can throw a ball much further, even in American football. I once played American football. I got really badly injured. They said, how did that happen? I said, I fell off the bench. They said, what position did you play? I said, drawback. So the further up the body you go, the further you can reach. So when you reach your mouth, you can shout, and with an echo, you go to the Alps or some other area where you echo, then you can reach miles and miles. Now you go even higher, your ears, I think actually your nose can smell from many miles away a draft of fire or some other contaminated item. You can smell from very, very far away. Your ears can hear from even further away. But when you get to your eyes, OMG, you can see stars which are millions of light years away. Then Rav Nachman ends this ladder, but when you get to your mind, that's super mega OMG. Because your mind, you can enter worlds beyond the physical. And that's what he's referring to over here, that people of the stature of the Arizal, through his spoitedness, through his spaininess, were actually able to reach much higher levels even than Nevuah. Because Nevuah you're receiving from Hashem, but your mind, when you're entering into that world, that's a whole new dimension. So we touched on it a little bit last week when we talked about the story of 4 people that went into Pardes and only one came out, and that was Rabbi Akiva, because he knew when to stop. He knew how to set a gvul to the makif. So aval hu histig derech hasaga b'seichel shezehu hasagas ruach hakodesh k'mo shekasav Ramban u'sheloi derech ri'iyah efshar lahasig harbe. If you're not using your eyes to see, you can see much more through your seichel. Seichel, we've said it before, is that part of your mind that's able to evaluate. That's where the word scale in English comes from, and that's where seichel is you're evaluating the information that you are receiving through your ears, through your eyes, through your taste, through your nose, etc. Smell. You're evaluating all your experiences, and that's what your mind is doing all the time. Every waking second of your life, you are constantly using your seichel to evaluate. So that evaluation is something that you can go very, very, very far with. So v'zeh ma she'amru b'menachos the Moshe Rabbeinu alav Hashem lo haven divrei Rabbi Akiva. That's what it means. He didn't understand Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva had used his mind, so to speak, in a different way, and Moshe Rabbeinu had received all he received from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Medrash Rabbah at the end of Parshas Mishpatim tells us that Moshe Rabbeinu on Har Sinai, at the end of every single day, 40 days and 40 nights, he said to Hashem, Rebbeinu Shalom, I don't remember everything you taught me. So Hashem's answer was weiter, just continue, bamshich, just continue. At the end of 40 days and 40 nights, Moshe Rabbeinu was so humiliated, he said, you want me to go down and give your Torah, but I don't remember most of what you told me of the Torah Sheba'al Peh. I just don't remember. And we're talking about Moshe Rabbeinu. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to him something astonishing. It's true, the human mind can't be toifus, everything I've taught you. But because you tried so hard, you put in so much effort, I'm giving it to you as a gift. So really, Torah is a matana. And that's why, interestingly, why didn't Chazal legislate that when we say Shacharis on Shabbos, we ought to say Yismach Moshe biyagias chelkai. He worked so hard. No matter how hard he worked, it was purely a matana from a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and Moshe Rabbeinu saw it as a matana. Everything he received, he saw it as a pure matana, and therefore Hashem was willing to give him even more and more and more. He didn't give himself credit for it. Sha'akol haya hisgalus nevuah derech re'iyah. Nevuah comes from seeing. It's a vision that's taking place in your mind. Velo derech hasaga, but not something that you reached using your mind. She'klayos hasagas sichlius. K'mo she'masikim moisam hamechadshim hadvarim shedav hazeh lo nitu lichtov. There were certain things that were not given to be written down, and that was passed on only through one hacham to another, and that was the original Masorah. That's why what the Rashbi was Mechadesh, that went continually until it was written down in the 1200s. But it was Mechadesh in 3,000 years, 2,000 years ago, in the time of the Tanaim. So. Kidava ze iyafshar lehalbish b'ksav klal. You can't put down in writing certain Torahs. Rak masha halev hacham yaskil pihu. Only the hacham lev, he can do it. V'ikar saka hu soid ne'elam belev hamasik. So he actually tells you, go to Ben Yehoyada on that Gemara Menachos Kaf if you want more on that subject. So I want to just touch briefly on some of the makifim that Rav Nachman himself tells us. Don't go there. We mentioned last week a little bit. We said, Don't go into Chochmas Hitzonius. It's a very, very, very dangerous place to go. He even mentions, even if it's written by Rishonim, some of the greatest of Rishonim, don't go there because it's just so confusing. I'll never forget Rabbi Rosenfeld, Alav Shalom. He used to say, don't learn Mora Nevuchim, the guide to become perplexed. It's usually called the guide to for the perplexed. So he said the guide to become perplexed. So don't go there. It's just anyway. It's in Arabic. So you're going to read the Hebrew translation of the Arabic or the English translation of the Hebrew. You're not getting it in its original anyway, and you're just going to be reading questions that you never had before, and now you're going to be stuck with the questions if you don't understand the answers. Don't go there. Real big tzaddikim, they're capable to fall 7 times into all 7 chachmas. And they can come up and they'll still be a tzaddik, and they can pull out all the nitzot, say kedusha, that are over there. But really, don't go there. It's not a place to go. It's very dangerous. It can has v'shalom cause tremendous damage to one's emunah. It's interesting that in Likutim itself there are single quotes from Mora Nevuchim or from Yesodei Torah in Rambam, and even from Sefer Ikarim. It doesn't say it in their name. It's only in the Perushim. When you learn the Perushim, that you learn that's where it's coming from. But those are references that might be relevant to a particular context, but it's not something that's healthy for the neshama to delve into, because it's very hard to notice how one is actually getting entangled in a world of philosophy that can steal the tamimus of the neshama away from Hashem.
So that would mean if the Moira or the Ikrim are quoted somewhere, no problem learning it.
Right. It's just a quote.
Discussion.
Yeah, that's what I never learned the Moira, but I've seen quotes and I've sometimes quoted, but that's as far as it goes.
But the problem is learning the question, right?
So
going into the Mevuchim.
Yeah, it's not kedai to even try and understand the answer. So that's one area, and we did quote last week from Chaim Ron Chaf Dalet, where he mentioned don't go into the whole question of Bechira and Yediyah. It's very complicated. We explained it a little bit last week. Don't go into the Machlokes of the Torah Sheba'al Peh. the Toshmal Peh itself is very, very confusing because you can have Rabbi Meir say it's tahor, and Rabbi Yehuda say it's tameh. Rabbi Shimon says it's posel, and another one says it's kosher. One says it's mutter. One says it's asa, and then we're told elu ve'elu divrei Elokim chayim. So for a lot of people that's really confusing. It's better if it's beyond oneself, don't go there. There are some explanations. The Maharal, for example, he points out that everything in the physical world that Hashem created is perfectly complex and unified. Complex would tell me there's lots of different entities. Unified means it's really one. In its complete simplicity, it's really all one. So he gives an example, which I think is a very elegant example. He says, if you look at an ice cube and ask someone what is this made of, they'll say it's water. If you see a cloud and you ask someone what's that made of, he'll say it's water. So then if you see liquid in a cup, you say, what's this? You say, well, it's water. So what's hail and sleet and snow? It's all water. I say, this is not making any sense. Well, that's because I don't understand that in this manifestation, because of the temperature, the conditions of the environment, it takes on a different shape, entity, and name, but it's still essentially exactly the same. So he gives that as an explanation for why you can have different opinions and they're all correct. When it comes to halacha, we have to decide according to one opinion, but you actually do need the machlokes, because unfortunately the Christians, they really butchered our language. Horrific. Only when Mashiach comes, it's going to clean up the mess, and then we'll all be all learning in Lashon Kodesh. Please be mochel me. All the translations will be in Shemus. Wow, Shemus business is going to be huge. Because Sephania Perek Gimel tells us that one of the nevuas of La'atid, of the future, is that everyone, the whole world, will be talking one Safa Brua, which is one pure, clear language. And you look at the Radak and Rashi there, it says it's talking about Lashon Kodesh. That's the only language which is 100% clean, 100% pure.
Art Scroll will be out of business.
Yeah, so sorry. I'm so sorry. But maybe if they go into Shemus business, if they go into Shemus, they'll do very well. So, but the point I'm making is, what was the point I was making?
Everything's unified.
Yeah, in that machlokes elu ve'elu, in halacha you have to follow one. But it's interesting. If you're on an 8-lane highway, you're not going to say to the person in the other direction, you're going in the opposite direction. You're going in the wrong direction. You're not going to say to the guy in the emergency lane for the ambulances or fire trucks, what are you doing there? You're not going to say to the guy who's taking the exit, I'm going faster than you. And oh, that was my exit. So there's a fast lane for overtaking. There's a bicycle lane. There's a fire lane. There's a bus lane. No one's going to say you're in the wrong lane because you're going al pi darkoi. You're going according to where you're going and your needs and your pace. So in the halacha, you've got to have machlokes. That's what I was saying. The Christian translation of machlokes is argument and conflict. Machlokes comes from the 3-letter root chelek. Chelek means a piece, one factor. It's when you put the different factors together that you understand that machlokes is actually analysis of parts. And that when you paskin the halacha one way for one person, it's possible that the same rabbi that said it's mutter for Mr. A, Mr. B walks into his office seconds later, asks the same question and gets the answer for Mr. B, it's asa. And you and I would say, how can that be elu ve'elu? And yet, if you ask the Rav for his opinion, and there are many examples of this, that you realize, oh, there's no problem here. I actually need both lanes, asa and mutter, because there's going to be situations in the future that will surface where it will apply differently for different people. So a lady comes to, a true story, to the Brisker Rav, and he paskins that the chicken is mutter. A wealthy lady walks in soon afterwards, and the Talmud hears and sees the same Rav give a psak that is asa, and it was the same kasha, different chicken, same problem. So the Talmud asked the Rabbi, how's it mutter for one and also for the other? He said, no, the first lady, she's an almana. She's very poor. If I ask her the chicken, she'll have nothing for Shabbos. It was a Friday. So he said, for her, if there's any opinion in Shulchan Aruch that is matir, this particular case, I have to be soymech on it so that she can have food for Shabbos. The other lady, she's a wealthy lady, and she's not looking for a smach. She wants to know if it's not kosher, she'll buy another one, or she'll take a different one out of the freezer, or wherever it would be. So you need halacha in both directions, mutter and asa, to accommodate different situations that are going to come up all the time. One last example, in Chosh and Mishpat, you have a din that competition is mutter. It's mutter, you can't get around it, it's mutter. Okay, then there's an interesting case where Ruvain opens up a wine store, and he's doing business. Then comes along Shimon, and he opens up a wine store on the same street, main street, and opposite Ruvain. And Ruvain's very upset, and he wants to go to Beis Din, and Beis Din don't open up Shulchan Aruch and paskin. That's not how to paskin. You got to find out what's the situation. Shulchan Aruch was written. You look at the original Hagdama, you'll see he wrote it for Balabatim to have a hekef of different situations that come up, so they will know how to intelligently ask a question on a different inyan, because they know there's an inyan here. But without knowing, Shulchan Aruch was only meant to be Mechaber, later on Raman, later on Nosa Kalim, but originally it was only meant to be the Mechaber, and the Mechaber actually in his Hagdama wanted everyone to learn the whole Shulchan Aruch, Arba Chelkei Shulchan Aruch, once a month. It was a quick review. So they would know how to ask intelligent questions. It wasn't meant for Lamdan. So in Chosh Mishpat, the din is competition is mutter. So comes along Ruvain, takes Shimon to Beis Din. Beis Din asked Ruvain, do you have any other panas? He said no. Do you have any people who rely on you? Yes, I've got a wife and 7 children. So then they asked Shimon, do you have any other panasa? He says, yes, this is a chain store, and this is my fourth wine store I'm opening up. And said, do you have any dependents? He says, no, I'm still single. So he said, Shimon, I'm sorry, you have to close shop and move town. It stays competition's mutter. It depends. So you gotta know which lane I belong in. Sorry? Yeah, Shimon came after Ruvain. Ruvain opened up a store, and his panasa comes from that store for his whole family. Shimon comes along, opens up another store, and you should say, hey, competition's mutter. And if you don't trust me, go to 47th Street in Manhattan and check it out. And you'll see that it's 100% mutter. Okay, so but the point is, if it is a hekef I can't fathom, don't go there. Darkei Hashem, Rav Nachman talks about, if you don't understand the ways of Hashem, let go. That's what Rabbi Kiva said, Kol David Rahman el Tavavid. He knew where to be quiet. Quiet's not over silence over here, silence over here. He knew how to say, Kol David Rahman el Tavavid, Gamzul Taiva, Hashem, I have a munah in you, but that's a form of silence. It's saying, I don't understand, I'm not trying to understand. Sometimes it will be megala to us in our lifetime why it had turned out, and as we get older, we actually can look back and have a whole new insight as to a difficulty that we went through that was really a blessing and a stepping stone to go to a different level of clarity in our next relationship, or in raising our other children. Messed up with the first one, big time, and then the lessons that we took from it helps us be better parents for the other children. There's no end to that. But where my mind can't fathom the injustice or the unfairness, etc., don't go there. Now, the thing I promised to talk about briefly is Machlokes Tzadikim. This is huge. This is a makif that my brain does not belong inside. Rav Nachman talks about it many times. I'm going to share a few of the examples where he talks about when you have a machlokes between tzaddikim, don't get involved. Don't even develop your own opinion, because it's not my place. I want to share with you some of the reasons. So he says, for example, many of the reasons why tzaddikim are arguing against each other has nothing to do with what it appears to be, and what the public think it is. It's not what it is. It can many times have to do with things going on in Shemayim, So, for example, you can have two tzaddikim. I'm thinking of names, but I don't really want to go there. I didn't ask their permission. But I'm thinking of names of people who, let's say, two tzaddikim, who are extremely close, decades and decades. And they used to live in two different continents. When one needed chizuk, and he was even a bigger tzaddik than the other one, he would actually take a plane to, I don't want to say the country, because I don't want to give any, and then spend a few days together to give each other chizuk, and get chizuk from his friend. And today, the klape chutz, as far as everyone's concerned, these two are against each other, because one of them asked to sign against another tzaddik, and that tzaddik refused to sign, and so the tzaddik who was a friend is now not talking to him. And klape chutz, everyone knows that anyone who didn't sign against this tzaddik, so now he's part of the camp of those who are refusing to sign, and now he's not a real tzaddik. So Rav Nachman says, don't go there, because if I even hear, and I'll show you inside a few moments, I hear a machlokes between tzaddikim, and I start speculating as to who's more right, then the fact that I hear it is a communication to me that I need to work on shmiras habris, because tipei moyach is there's a pagam, and the pagam means a blemish, and tipei moyach is referring to the zera that comes out from the bris that starts in the moyach. We'll be learning when we get to, hopefully not soon after Pesach, we'll learn a little bit in Torah Yud, paragraph Yud, because he talks about the power of Achila to be the greatest Eis Ratzon in a certain sense. The greatest Ratzon a person can come to is B'shas Achila. So Rav Nachman in Sichas Haran, I think it's Kuf Sadik Hey. I'm not sure. He talks about why is it that some Talmidei Chachamim don't have children who are Talmidei Chachamim, and he says it's because Sheloi Baruch B'Torah Tchila. That's what the Gemara says in the Darim, that they didn't bless on the Torah at the beginning. So Rav Nachman says something quite original. He says when they were eating, their thoughts weren't on Torah, and so the food which makes up your body wasn't invested with the ruchnius that it can have from thinking during eating. And when a person, at the moment of conception, that exact moment, the seed is coming from the brain. The brain is made up of the body's made up of food. The bracha that we make on the food is the beginning of that zera. That's the real beginning. Shalom Baruch Hu B'Torah Tchila is referring to that Tchila, which is an extraordinary insight. So if a person hears and starts thinking about a machlokes of tzaddikim, Rav Nachman wants me to know that that's because I was poigim in tipei mayach, and therefore I have to work on shmiras habris, but let go. Don't go there. It's a makif that it's not for me. In Likutim Ran, I'm going to ask you to open up it's in Tneinã, at the end of the Torah on prostic, Tzadi Ayin Ches, the last paragraph, Ayin Ches. It's not when I say the last paragraph, it's on page 72 in my edition. It says Tzrichim levakesh ma'od ma'Hashem yisbarach. That's the paragraph I'm referring to, not all the kind of Rosh Hashanah that comes up afterwards. Tzrichim levakesh. You got the place? Torah Ayin Ches, the last paragraph. Utzrichim levakesh ma'od ma'Hashem yisbarach. Lizkois lizkarev latzadik ha'emes.
Page Ayin Test in the large Likutim Moran. Page Ayin Test.
Oh, thank you. A person needs to search. To levakesh means really to request through Hashem. Ma'od ma'Hashem yisbarach. A person has to request from Hashem. Lizkois, that he should be zoicha, worthy. Lizkarev latzadik ha'emes. Lizkarev is in Lashon reflexive, which means he's asking to be zoicha, to make himself close to the tzaddik ha'emes. Ki ashrei limi shezoicha lizkarev be'oiteh b'chayim. Happy is the person who in his lifetime he comes alive. It comes to the tzaddik emes while he's still alive. Ashrei lei, happy is he. Ashrei chelko, happy is his portion. Now Nasan puts in parentheses for a couple of lines. Ki achar kach, that means hainu la'achar misa. After he dies, kasha az me'oid lizkarev. It's very hard to become close to a tzaddik after you die. So Reb Chaim Kramer in the notes on this Torah, he says after a person dies, he hasn't got bechira. So what do you mean kasha? It's impossible. Why is it only kasha? So he quotes Parsa Chachma that it's possible that a person could be zoicha to Hashem's chesed chinam, complete, pure, free chesed, which is not owed because I don't deserve it. But it's possible that a person could get that. A person while he's still alive should daven a lot, and supplications in the extreme. That while he's alive, he should be worthy. While he's still alive, this come close to the tzaddik emes. This is the piece I wanted to get to. The Yetzer Hara. Sam liboy al zeh ma'od achshav. The Yetzer Hara is working very hard on this nekuda, that people should not come close to the tzaddik emes. Why? Levalbel es ha'olam, to confuse the world. Ki Yisrael hem achshav karevim el ha'ketz ma'od. He said this 200 years ago. I think, but we would therefore have to add ma'od. The Jewish people now are extremely close to the end. We're in 5,786 and a 6,000 year timeline, so we're really, really close. V'yesh achshav Yisrael, achshav, and it's very pertinent to literally achshav now. There is now to the Jewish people gaguim gedolim, tremendous gaguim. Gaguim is a language that when you're separated from your source, like a child separated from a mother or a father, that's the language of gaguim. That I want to go home. I want to be close to where I belong. I want to be close to Hashem. There are gaguim gedolim. If you want to translate craving, you can do it any way you want. But the language is referring specifically to the distance that I want to close between where I am and where I want to be in terms of who I want to be close to. Ukisufim gedolim, and tremendous desires. Kisufim comes from lashon kesef. So it really means that you're willing to pay any money in the world. It means that much to you, to be close to this person, or in this case, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ukisufim gedolim l'Hashem Yisbarach. Person has extreme cravings. Asher lo hayta kazos b'mei kadem, that did not exist in previous times. V'kol echad nichsach me'od l'Hashem Yisbarach. Every single person is craving to be close to Hashem. Al kain ha'arim ha'baldava, the baldava has aroused v'hichnis machlokes tzadikim. What's his best tactic to create a distraction and confusion? And that is to create machlokes between tzadikim. V'hekim ba'olam mifursamim harbe shel sheker. This is a whole new point. And there are many publicly well-known people who are absolute fakers. V'gam bein tzadikim ha'amitiyim, and between even tzadikim ha'amitiyim hichnis machlokes gadol. Not fakers, just machlokes gadol. Ad she'ein echad yodea heichan ha'emes. So how does any one person able to determine who is a tzaddik emes and who's not? Al kein tzrichim livakesh ma'od. The only answer is one. You gotta talk to Hashem and beg Him. Don't let me get strayed away. Don't let me stray. Hashem Yisbarach me'od. You gotta ask Him a lot. To make yourself. Liskarev means not to become close. It means to make yourself close. To make yourself close to the tzaddik emes. The only answer to that is check out his eitzes and then follow them and see if you notice a difference. Ta'amu uru ki toiv Hashem. And how do you do that? Taste the real Hungarian wine. So you cannot be fooled if someone else tells you, hey, let me show you genuine Hungarian wine. Oh yeah, it's delicious. I love it. Let me have a cup. And you taste it. No, this is not the real thing. How do you know? Because you've tasted it. And what does that taste? Oh, the kudas tovus, his peitus, oh simcha, his chaskus, fighting against Yush, simcha. That is the taste. Ta'amu uru. If you taste it, you'll see for yourself. But you can't. Everyone needs to make this bakasha on their own, in their own hispaitus. Please Hashem, don't let me be fooled by the world.
What happens when a tzaddik says another tzaddik that he's not? So if I have a muskam, I have to believe him fully, you know.
So I'm tell you what, I'm going.
When Amri disagrees with his opinion, he says he's not a tzaddik. He's a mafus shashak. What do you do then?
Without asking for any specific examples, the piece I'm bringing out here is really the following. Based in is where people go to settle a case. So if this person is, let's say, a sheker, and he's a, what's it called? Even a Navi sheker, you can't just go in the street and shoot him down. He's got to be brought to Beis Din. He's brought to Beis Din of Ayin Aleph, 23 or 71 members of the Sanhedrin. So it's not my. I have no right to paskin who is and who isn't until Beis Din has actually told me these are the Eidim, these are the witnesses, and this is the scenario, how we know. And it's got to be real Eidim. It can't just be so-and-so said that this person touched me and hurt me, etc., etc. It's got to be a real case.
The person who said is a real tzaddik, what do you do then? He's saying...
I'll tell you what, let me quickly finish these examples, because I think you're going to see the answer in these examples. Because I'm quoting from you inside. In Kuf Tzadik Hey, Mesichas Aran, that's where Rav Nachman worked with during his lifetime, he worked with what he called naked souls that had no body to go into, and that were just floating around and had no tikkun, and especially the souls that were hanging around from the massacre of the tens of thousands of Jews that died al Kiddush Hashem, and that's why he chose to be buried in Uman. But the point is, he was able to elevate people who have died. Even though they're dead, he can elevate them. So that's a point that we're bringing up. There's a Gemara in Brachas, Daf Yud Ches Amud Beis, which is a famous Gemara where Shmuel goes to a cemetery. His father Abba had money that was deposited by him for almanas, and then when he died, people started spreading rumors that Shmuel, his son, was and his father ate up the money of the almanas. So he didn't know where his father hid it. So he went to his father in the cemetery, who was dead, and asked him, Abba, where's the money? So he gave him the answer, and he paid everyone back. But in the meantime, while he was in the cemetery, there was someone by the name of Levi ben Sissi, who was a huge Talmud Chacham, who had died, and he was floating around. So Shmuel said, "What are you doing here? You're supposed to be in Gan Eden." He said, "They won't let me in because I slighted the covet of my Rosh Hashiva. I didn't go to his shiur." So Shmuel, and it doesn't say how he did it, but he pleaded on behalf of Levi, and Levi was allowed into Gan Eden, into the Yeshiva Shamala. If you look at Saita Daf Zayin Amud Beis, there's a similar story, but it goes back much earlier to Yehuda, who made Yehuda, the son of Yaakov Avinu, who made an oath, and Chazal tell us that when a Chacham makes an oath, even if it's conditional, it's still Makuyim. So, and what was the oath? I get no Olam Haba, he said, if I don't bring back Binyamin. Now he did bring back Binyamin, but the oath still stood. So when all the Atzamis of all the Shvatim came out of Mitzrayim, during the trek in the Midbar, happened to be that the bones of Yehuda were rattling inside the coffin, and it wasn't until Moshe Rabbeinu, the live Tzaddik Emes, davened that he should be allowed into the Yeshiva Shalmala, and then his bones settled. So there is such a concept that the tzaddik can do this for people who've already died. The night before, let me give you examples that directly answer your question. In Torah Hey, paragraph 4. If you want to look it up quickly, I'll just quote it inside. It's in the first chelik of Likutim Ran. Torah Hey, it's near the beginning, and it's in paragraph 4. It's about 7 lines from the bottom. V'ta'amin. You gotta have emunah. Ki kol matzuta umriva sheyesh bein hatzadikim hashaleimim. Every machlokes, every conflict that you'll hear between tzadikim who are shalem, they're the real thing. Ein ze ela kadei shigashu sitrin acharin. The only reason they're doing this, they're doing it deliberately, consciously, in order to remove the sitra achra, wherever the sitra achra is, and then last 2 lines, kishata shomea merivais, when you do hear such conflicts between tzadikim, shebein tzadikim, teda should know, shezeh mashmim oisran tochacha. It's being heard to you. Hashem's letting you hear it as a tochacha. Al shepegamta b'tipei moichacha. That a person has made a blemish of some sort in the drops of semen that comes out of his mind. That's that Makara. In Torah 114, it's further up. It's still in the first Torah, the first chelik of Shulchan of Likutim Ran. Kuf Yotes. So in Kuf Yotes, if you have the place, Kuf Yodalet. I'm so sorry. Hamechas Shemaim be'avim. So I'm not going to go into this. I'm going to go over here. Okay, let's go quickly. Ki toiv ma'oid ma'alas tzadikim magnuzim. It's extremely valuable, very beneficial that there are tzadikim who are hidden. Shehen yecholim likabel shefa v'roiv toiva l'hamshich la'olam. It's because they're hidden, they're able to receive a tremendous flow of tremendous benefits that brings down to the world. Nobody's asking about them. No one's being mekatrik against them because they're not known. They're hidden, so no one has an opinion. They're not well known. They're not known. Now there's a different case. Someone who is yes mefursam. There's a tremendous benefit for the fact that now people are turning against this known tzaddik. It covers him up. Oh, he's not just a tzaddik. He's not a tzaddik at all. He can't be based on these accusations, etc. Now he's able to continue bringing shefa to the world, and no one can stop him. Even Rav Nachman himself, it said of him that the only reason why his neshama was permitted to come down is because the Sitra Achra, the Satan, was given the gift of Machlokes against him. And you see that with the Shpoler Zayda. In a certain sense, the Shpoler Zayda actually brought about that when he went around almost the whole of Russia, Ukraine, to get a written chayrim against Rav Nachman, the exact opposite happened, which in a certain sense was a huge benefit. You look at the haskamas to Rav Nachman's Likutim Ran from all the tzaddikim of that generation. It really came about because of the Shpoler Zayda, so to speak, trying to go against him, and they all refused. And then when Rav Nachman sent, I can't remember who it was that he sent for like half a year or so to go and was it? Reb Zalman, thank you. To go around and get haskamas from all the big tzaddikim, they were already in a position where they were stuck on his side, so to speak. But I'm not trying to defend anyone or anyone against anyone. I'm just bringing out that sometimes the whole point of putting a tzaddik down is in order that in Shemayim, because there's machlokes against him, he can continue to receive the shefa. Okay, so you can read the rest of that Torah. He explains it inside a pasuk. Here's something I really want to say. Sometimes Tzaddik A refuses to join Tzaddik C, D, E, and F, and maybe more, to go against B. Because A knows that if he signs against B, and even though C, D, and E have all signed already, he knows how much harm will come down on everybody if they sign against Tzaddik B. So he refuses. And he knows that by refusing, C, D, E, and F, etc., are going to go against A as well. And that's exactly what happens. And Rav Nachman is telling us, keep out of it. Don't get involved because there's other reasons taking place that has nothing to do with what's seen on the surface. And I'm going to add, just personally for myself, especially if the information I know is from the media. The media is 100% unreliable and 100% fake. It's never the full context. It's never accurate reporting, ever. I came from that world, and when I came from that world, it's 50 years ago. I was in the world of advertising with my father and did hundreds, not dozens, hundreds and hundreds of commercials, and it's all lies. And that's even with all the laws against lying to the public through your commercial. And the reason why they still did it is because it was worth going to court and settling, because the amount of money they already made by defaming the other product was way more than the cost of the settlement. And the reason why is because it went out already on radio and television to millions of viewers before it got settled in court months and months later. And when it did get settled, and this is now it's complete hefkerus. And when you ask who's reporting, it's one person's opinion. So you don't. All you're hearing is their opinion about this tzaddik or this rabbi or this hechsher or this kashrus, and you just can't come to your own opinion. Leave it to Beis Din if it goes to Beis Din. Leave it for them to decide based on that. But otherwise, keep our minds clean. Rav Nachman says in Torah 12, in Likutim also, he says that usually people who go against tzaddikim is people who learn the Torah Sheba'al Peh with tremendous gaiva. That's something he warns against. That usually the people who are against the real tzaddikim, it's people that are not such big tzaddikim themselves. In Torah Chaf Ches 28, sometimes, and this is a very strong language, sometimes the machlokes is stirred by misnagdim who literally are mevazer and mecharef real Yireish Hashem, and the source of their machlokes is actually born from them learning from Talmidei Hachamim who are not Kesherim, but are actually Shedim Yehudaim. They are Shindalets in the shape of a human body. I'm not going to go into it, but I know there was one huge Talmud Chacham in the Litvische world who was not afraid to tell Breslov Bachrim that they were worse than Hitler, because Hitler only destroyed physical bodies, but the Breslov Hasidim were destroying souls. So. This was brought to the attention. I don't want to say the name. It's a huge tzaddik and mekubal, and he wrote back, "Im zeh emes, if this is true, that I made Shemaim va'aretz, that huge Talmud Chacham, eino mezera Yisrael ela zera Amalek." There are people in this world, whether they're consciously or not consciously, I don't know, but there are people in this world that end up, if they don't learn Torah Lishma, then what's going to happen is Has v'Shalom, they get kidnapped by the Sitra Achra. And when their minds get kidnapped by the Sitra Achra, their learnings with Gaiva, and then they start falling into all sorts of taking a position against real tzaddikim.
So what happens when the simple yid sees this Talmud Chacham and he thinks also it's tzaddik? So now that it's
That simple yid should open up Likutim at least in English if he doesn't understand the Hebrew, and read the footnotes, and you'll see what to do. Just keep out of it. Don't put your head inside.
Even against this big Talmud Chacham who's saying such crazy things.
Yeah, for sure.
You still consider it as Machlokes Tzadikim?
I don't know. I'm not.
That's my question.
You're saying it's a big Talmud Chacham is not necessarily known as a huge tzaddik?
It boils down to who do we trust?
Right.
Okay, if this huge Talmud Chacham,
not a tzaddik.
I'm not saying names. I can think of someone, let's say, who was mefarsim against Breslov and Rosh Hashanah, etc., and he's definitely a tremendous positive influence in the Torah world and even in the Kiruv world. Now, here's my question: has he studied Breslov Chassidus? And I know for a fact that the person I'm thinking of has not. So he's not qualified to give a daya because he doesn't understand that world. If a case comes to Beis Din, they're not going to base their psak on
Ignorance.
on your opinion against his opinion. They're going to ask what are the factors involved over here, and that's how they'll decide. It's not going to be because I hate Breslov or I hate Lubavitch, so they have to be wrong. It doesn't work that way. So if it's a towering tzaddik, then that's what we're referring to. If it's a Talmud Chacham who has never studied Tanya and he's against Lubavitch, makes no sense. Why are you putting your head in between tzaddikim? You keep your head out. Don't go there.
So what extent do you consider it tzaddik? I'm still troubled with this. If Rav Nachman says on a certain tzaddik that he's not a tzaddik, why don't you say
Rav
if
Nachman?
Nachman tells on somebody that he's not a tzaddik?
So I would take that at face value.
Right, so you do take it face value.
Yeah, of course.
So it's not Machlokes Tzadikim.
That would not be a Machlokes ben tzadikim.
So if the example you gave before, if the C, D, E, F are saying that B is not a tzaddik, is that Machlokes ben tzadikim?
Listen, I'm just sharing with you what Rav Nachman says on.
I'm asking a question.
Yeah, but
No, if he says that, is it biased to whom I believe is a tzaddik, and that will make the other person not a tzaddik?
Let me share with you.
You have to daven.
Ramati brought last week the Torah from Samach Dalet in also Likuta and Aleph, where it says a person should be very careful not to go to places where you can't comprehend. I'm putting this in that category. So he says it's called the Chalal Panui. So also lehaher al zeh hamachlokes rak leamin ki elu ve'elu divrei Elokim chayim. Just take both are legitimate. How? Why? I don't know. But just go there. Why? Rak she'i efshar lanu lehavin et zois v'anu tzrichim nitchazek be'emunah levad. Just be strong in emunah. Now, if my kid comes to me and asks me, I would teach him this as well. I would say, don't get involved there. I know my Rebbe, Reb Chaim Kramer, I bless him frequently. When I was engaged at yeshiva, there was a huge machlokes. And Reb Chaim told me when I lived in Eretz Yisrael, I was a bacher in yeshiva, and he was the mashkiach in night seder in Tvar Yerushalayim. So he really drummed it in, keep out of machlokes. And there was plenty of, chayrims going around, and just had to wake up next morning and look on the wall to see the fresh plastered. Who's in chayrim now? Who's just got buried? Whatever. It was like he would say, "Don't waste your life on this. These are precious."
Who was buried alive and who was not buried alive? It's one or the other.
Yeah. You're wasting your life. There's a lashon that Rav Nachman uses. You know, a person's got an expiration date in this world. Why would I waste my life involved in opinions of who's a tzaddik, who's not, who's a bigger tzaddik, who's a tzaddik emes, who's not a tzaddik emes? Let go. I don't need to go there. I just have to daven, Hashem, please help me. I should be mekusha to real tzaddikim and not falter, not fall away. And even if I hear something against them, so I have a mitzvah of being done l'chavschus. And especially with all the Torahs, there's a lot of Torahs here. In Torah 61, 64, we just quoted, 161, it talks about how Machlokes elevates you. There's so many reasons behind Machlokes that I may not be accessing and seeing with my eyes and hearing with my ears. Keep out. Why do I have to be involved? What do I need to know? He's a bigger tzaddik, I'm the adjudicator? I'm the one who decides who's the bigger tzaddik, who's not, who's a tzaddik emes, who's not. It's ridiculous. Keep out. And if Korach had studied Likutim Run, it would have saved his life and 250 followers and millions and millions of Jews who would have been born. But he messed up. He got so entangled. Keep out. Those 250 should have kept out too. All machlokes.
Stay away, period.
Yeah. It's a makif. It's a fire, and it only burns. No one comes out.
That was those.
Chazal say, "Ein shalom yotzi meriv." Shalom never comes out from machlokes.
There's a story of Yitzchak Moshe. Moshe was he remembered his previous Gilgal, and he said he was there by the machlokes of Korach, and they asked him, "Which side were you?" He said, "I'm none of the sides. I didn't take a side."
Wow.
He said it was so hard because all the Doli Yisrael were against Moshe. It was so hard that he just didn't take a side.
Ashrei Chilkai. Well, we can't imagine the temptation, but if we would just know it's fire, and everyone gets burnt. Keep out. The tzaddikim know what they're doing, and they're doing it for our toelas. There's even.
Someone goes on Moshe Rabbeinu's side and says Korach Serasha. That's considered mixing into Machlokes Tzadikim.
Sorry.
When someone takes Moshe Rabbeinu's side and says Korach Serasha, that's what Moshe Rabbeinu is saying. He's machlokes.
I don't know.
He's listening to Moshe Rabbeinu.
No, you should stay. Of course, you stay with the tzaddik emes. Moshe Rabbeinu had a track record. It's beyond us to understand the temptation to get involved on Korach's side. It's mind-boggling. Hashem spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu, Perek Yutes, Pasuk Tes, in Parashat Yisro. Hine ani ba be'av ha'anon. I'm coming to you in a thick cloud. Ba'avo yishma ha'am. So the nation will hear b'dabri imach. I'm talking directly with you. V'gam b'cha ya'aminu la'olam. That's a nevuah. There will always be Jews in every time in history who have a munah that you, Moshe Rabbeinu, was spoken to directly by me, and therefore you can be relied upon to mi piagvura. Moshe kibel Torah mi Sinai. And the Masorah comes there. If I would have been able to hold on to that, I would not have got involved with Korach. But I don't know what the temptation was. The Yismach Moshe was the father of the Summer Rebbe. Is that right?
Great grandfather.
Great grandfather. Was a huge Heilige Jew who, if he had that memory, that was for a reason. And the fact that he even shared that he was undecided shows you what extraordinary temptation it must have been. The media is a numbers game. Everyone is talking about it, so it has to be true. And that's how the liberals work. It's a numbers game. And eventually it gets inside our machana too. Contraceptives, assisted suicides, not so bad, transgender, same gender marriages, and it starts to get more and more legitimacy until it doesn't bother us so much. Even though it caused a bubble, the more exposure the media creates, Machlokes is not so bad, it's all over the place all the time. But what happens if I just keep out? So I remember when I was engaged, it was a huge Machlokes, I didn't even know what it was about. Until it died down. And
then you found out.
And then I just kept out of it. I was not interested. I sat and learned. That's all. Chaim told me, you've got very precious years here. Don't waste them on Machlokes. It's just a huge Yetzer Hara. And Engage said there's no Yetzer Haras.
The problem is
unless you like tattoos and going to bingo with the Goyim. There's nothing to do there. Sorry.
I'm saying the problem is that, like you're saying, it's all about numbers. But when the numbers becomes that many, then it starts playing with people's brain. Hold on, maybe
It's normalized.
Rav Nachman warns us that before Mashiach comes, there's going to be a huge tsunami of atheism. He brings it in two different places, in Sichas on Kaf Beis and Lamed Hey. And he warns us that I'm telling you now, even though you're hearing it from me now, and our Nevi'im have already quotes from Daniel, I think Perek Beis, Pasuk Yud Beis, we're being warned that it's going to be a huge deluge of atheism. It's going to be very, very hard to stand up against. But I'm warning you now, don't let go. And even Rav Nachman points out that we're longing for Mashiach, and we can feel his footsteps so close. And when he comes, he's going to win all the wars against all our enemies. But Rav Nachman points out he's on that side that says Mashiach's going to die, and it's going to be a huge catastrophe for our emunah. We've got to be able to hold on. There's going to be Mashiach ben David after that, but until, I don't know what the exact interim will be, but when Mashiach does die, we've got to be ready for that. Because we think, okay, now Baruch Hashem, the Jews are going to live happily ever after. Well, there's going to be a slight interim. It's all the same Nisayan. Am I staying with Hashem and His Torah, His land, His people, or Has v'Shalom, entertaining doubts? Don't. Be very careful. The media are liars, fakers, all from beginning to end. It's black and white. Either they're in the machaneh with the Jewish people and our God and our people, our Torah and our land, or they are against us. And most of the world is openly against us. And it's a fantastic accelerator of the Geula. It's an amazing how Hashem is allowing that with very few physical incidents of actual deaths and injuries, our enemies are getting riled up against us. And in the halacha, a non-Jew who hates a Jew and wants to kill him, he gets the schus of though he actually killed him, which means that the hatred of anti-Semitism today is reaching its zenith. It's reaching its saturation point where Hashem's going to bring about the Geula. They're bringing it about through the hatred of us. So it's a tremendous accelerator.
So in a way, we have to thank them for the hatred, so it's bring us closer to the Geula.
Paro
Keep hating me.
Paro Hikriv. Haman just one switch of a silly little ring that represents authority. He did more than 48 Nevi'im and 7 Nevi'ot could do.
I want to share something.
Yeah.
I was once with the Tasha Rebbe in Detroit, New York.
Ashrecha.
Because I had to find, they needed a mikvah, so they called me.
Wow.
And I knew that area. So we were about to go in the mikveh, and a boy came by and he had tattoos and he looked awful. And he said something very nasty. I don't even remember what it was.
Right,
And the Rebbe said, I was really upset by this.
right.
And I conveyed this. And the Rebbe said, no, it's good. That's what he's supposed to do.
It's really true. Yeah.
I think the key is what the Rebbe says here.
Yeah.
That the main thing is al ken levakish moed Hashem. Everyone's always looking to get a black and white. Oh, so this time a person has to daven, and it's like lefumad v'shar belibe, right? I
Yeah.
mean, a person has to get the insight from tefillah.
Yes.
And I saw Reb Nosson brings that the tzaddik is Shabbos Kodesh, right? Amtu Shabbos the Kuli Yom, and the tzaddik is the Shabbos Kodesh. So he equates it to the halacha if a person is lost in a desert and he doesn't know which is
day
Shabbos,
Shabbos.
so he doesn't know, so to speak, who's the tzaddik. So he has to act every day as if this is
This is-
Shabbos, as if so
this
any
is-
tzaddik that he meets, he has to feel that this is the tzaddik until he's able to figure out who is Taka the Shabbos Kodesh.
Right, excellent. So it's a filtering process that is positive as opposed to who's not.
Right.
He, in a different place, he says in Likutim Ran, Chelik Beis, paragraph 83, Torah 83, Pei Gimel, paragraph 8, Se'or v'chametz shebelev ha'adam, hu ha'mesis es ha'adam, shi'yahahe achet hamdei ha'chamim shebedor. The Yetzer Hara is going to work on me to start evaluating which one is a real Talmud Chacham, which one's not. V'loi mazeh na'eh, v'zeh eino na'eh. This one is a nice Talmud Chacham, this one, look. And then I start puzzling up. So Rav Nosson is helping us understand. This guy's a tzaddik, this guy's a tzaddik, until you find the one that's a towering tzaddik, keep on the program. Martia.
Thank you very much.
So no
No share next Sunday.
So we'll pick up after Pesach. And
After
Hashem will
Pesach.
announce for the next year.
Right.
We're not having next week, no?
This will continue, Mitzvah Hashem, after Pesach. We will have better cameras and better microphones.
Right.
Love you all.
Right.
I don't know what happened all of a sudden.